Hey, Mar. How you doing? Let's see. What am I doing here? I popped the chat out. Yes, perfect. Okay. All right. Wait a few more minutes for some people to show. This is the maiden voyage of the streams, so we'll see how it goes. We can call this the shakedown cruise and iron out a few of those those nasty kinks. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I figured it would be kind of fun to do a little bit of, um, a framework. It took me a while to figure out how to do all that, but it's fun stuff, super fun stuff. Certainly a learning curve, that's for sure. All right, we got a few more viewers, and 6:59, almost 7 o'clock. All right. And now it's 7. Okay, well, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt, and I am a graphic designer and the principal at Matt Paquette & Co., or MP&CO as some people call it. I like to do that to get rid of my name out of the title. But anyways, thanks so much for joining me today. Today we're going to be going over just a bunch of everyday things that I run into when we're working on tabletop games in the field of graphic design. Our studio has a team of 8 people in it, all of which are designers, some of which are also illustrators. So we're continuously trying to do things like this to sharpen our skills, learn new things, and anytime one of us learns something, we try and share it with the others. So I've kind of compiled a bunch of those things over the last little while and combined them with some of the stuff that I do on a day-to-day basis, and kind of have a little bit of a agenda or itinerary for what we can chat about today. Now let me just get speaking of agenda, let me just get my agenda out here and resize it. Perfect. Okie doke. So, a little bit more about us. We are, I've been doing this for about 7 years in the tabletop games industry. Actually, more than that, 10 years now. And professionally for about 8. I started the studio back in 2014 and ended up really kind of getting my feet under me and starting to work almost full time in the industry closer to the end of 2016, 2017. And then as of 2018, I was full time doing this, and it was fantastic. I have to thank Alderac Entertainment Group for taking a chance on me back then, and it was such a great time that I got to work on. I remember my first foray into the board game industry was to work on a game called Mystic Vale by John D. Clare that AEG put out, and that was just the beginning of the end. Oh, hey, Steve. Hey, Jason. How you doing? Sorry, it took me a second to get the brain thaw out of there. Nice to see you guys. Yeah, so anyways, without further ado, I guess we can just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, what I plan on talking about today is I'm going to talk about just some general graphic design stuff that I think about on a day-to-day basis in terms of structure and format and design principles. No matter what I'm doing, those things are going through my mind. And then we're going to get into doing basically two things from two regular things that I do. Sorry, I'm trying to read comments and talk at the same time, but obviously I can't. Two things that I regularly do on a day-to-day basis. First of which is how do we make cards? What do we go through when we make a game card or a deck? And the second one will be punch boards. Punch boards are such a popular topic because they can be really persnickety in how you get them done, and everybody has a different way of doing them. So I'll show you the way I do it, and hopefully that'll help your workflows as well. Okay, cool. So hey Aldi, how's it going? Great to see you. All right, so principles of design. A lot of the time, what I'm going to do is pull over, where is it? Pull over this website here, and they do a good job. It's Shutterstock. They do a good job of kind of illustrating and giving visual examples of a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with in order to really develop something that is very compelling for our audience and works visually, and then you add on top of that the user experience layer that, as graphic designers in a game situation where you need to make split-second decisions a lot of the time, really leaning into these design principles can really amplify the design so that your players can really make these decisions as they need to and not have to kind of work too hard to parse the information that they're looking at. So Marshall, hey buddy, how's it going? And we got Twisted Branch Games in here. That's Austin. Thanks for coming, Austin. Alrighty. So there's 8 principles of design I'm going to touch on really quickly. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but one of the things that we want to do, and whenever we're designing stuff, is keep in mind proportion and scale. Now, when you're trying to give emphasis to things, we're almost like storytellers. As a graphic designer, we're a storyteller. We want people to look at certain things before other things and visually navigate their way through our document or our concept or whatever they're looking at. Using proportion and scale, you can do that. Here they're using, the proportion of each of these and kind of creating that block with the text, and then in the background we have the background and foreground, actually we have the statues. So really kind of having them as at a similar proportion, these are almost given an equal weight. And then here's a kind of another example of different proportions and stuff. Using larger scales for certain things and smaller scales for other things really draws the eyes to that big A first, and then the exhibition second, and then at the very bottom you have these smaller text, and that's kind of where you're going to land on. Let's see what else we got. Movement. In Western civilization, a lot of people, we're used to reading top down, left to right. So, structuring your document in different ways, you're able to guide the users or the players or what have you into looking at your document and moving through your document in different ways. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on these. I highly recommend everybody kind of take a look at these 7 principles, or 8 principles in this case. Often it's referred to as 7. There's principles of design in general. They're fantastic, really kind of cornerstones, and really, really great to lean on as you're, working every day in design. So already a little bit more tea. Alignment and balance. when you're working on, I think one of the things that we do a lot of the time that we want to make sure alignment and balance is really strong is in our rule books. Alignment for sure. Having a grid system for our rule books allows us to really emphasize certain things and give that, hey Edward, give that that structure to the documents so that you're able to skim it quickly and really kind of parse it, find the information you need to find quickly, and then move and go back to playing your game. Contrast, again, emphasis through contrast is really, really powerful. Whether it's through size or shape, or if you have something small on one side and large on the other, those are contrasted in size, and there's contrasting in color, or several other properties too, like whether it's texture. Contrast is a really great tool to use as well when we're designing. Repetition and patterns. How many times if I took you to my game room over there, our game mats that we made is just a big pattern of, it looks like a tweed pattern. You see these in the back when they do the red carpets, the walls and the red carpets, like a step and repeat pattern. This is like throughout design, you're going to see this, and there's a reason why. It's because it works well, and it's a really great way to give texture to things. It also, repetition is great for grid layouts and things like that too. So emphasis, it just ties hand in hand with, hey Vika, emphasis ties hand in hand with trying to pull people's attention from one place to another through the document. We really want to kind of tell that story and give that narrative, and you don't want people reading or looking at things out of order. So we use size and proportion and scale and color and all these different things to really kind of give that emphasis to certain parts of the design you're working on. White space, depending. I remember back when I used to work at in high-tech communications at Alcatel-Lucent. I was asked to do PowerPoint presentations quite often, and a white space is a 4-letter word to the folks that were asking me to make these presentations. You can't hear me? Can everybody else hear me? Sorry, James. I'm not sure what's going on. Thanks, folks. Well, I'll continue on, James. I hope you can get it going. Oh, it was you. Excellent. Good. Again, this is my first kind of way in doing this, first time in doing this, so it could very well have been me. So anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, the 4-letter word, white space was very much a 4-letter word when making these PowerPoint presentations at Alcatel. So I became very, very guarded, and it became very delicate and dear to me how powerful white space can be. When you're too crowded, you really have that sensory overload, and you're really not able to, instead of putting so much information on one page so that you can get it across to somebody, you end up confusing them and overloading them with too much so they can't actually parse things, especially if they're trying to do something in a timely manner. Not the greatest thing in the world, but you really want to try and use it as much as you can to illustrate illustrate things so that you give emphasis again using white space. You can do that totally. It's really important. Sensory overload, you don't know her? All right. Unity, bringing everything together. So we want to create harmony in our design. So basically combining all of these elements, all of the things we were talking about into one cohesive design, giving movement and emphasis and having enough white space to create things so that we all create a design that is easy to parse, especially if it has information on it, and moves the user's or the reader's eye in the intended way through it, and communicating the information in order, effectively and efficiently to the user. All right, so that's a quick touch on all that design stuff. Again, I highly recommend just taking a quick look and reading into this. I picked up a while ago, I picked up this idea. Do I have it here? I do. No, I don't. I lied. So I have this great book. It's called The Idea Book. I'll see if I can find the link for it, and I'll post it in the comments. And it's just this really great little black and white book, and it uses two different icons. I think there's lightning bolts and there's light bulbs, and it uses those two different design elements and then applies all of these design principles to it to give you ideas on how to lay out your designs and things. It's a really great book. It's just a little pocket book about this big, but it is about like an inch thick. I'll see if I can find the link and I'll post it. All right, onward and forward, as they say. Last thing I want to talk about, kind of procedurally or design-wise, is I just saw it come up on the screen. I also want to, before I go any further, I want to let everybody know that today is the day where our Be Creative t-shirt campaign went live, and it is, I got to say, these shirts are fantastic. We have 3 new designs, 4 designs in total. We have the original OG one from back in 2018 maybe. And then now we have 3 new designs designed by American and Canadian artists. And I am super excited about all of them. But even more excited about the fact that every single dollar that we raise from these, the sale of these shirts, goes to the Children's Hospital. Di, I got your order and I canceled your order. I'm going to repost it because your order came in from our website, and the ones we're making now are much better. These are silkscreen ones versus the DTG ones that are on our site. So I got you, all good. You don't need to do anything. Alrighty. So advertisements out of the way for now. I'll probably do it again a little bit later, but here we go. So the last thing I want to touch on before we get into the actual technical stuff in the Adobe apps is why I choose to design in RGB versus CMYK. As a print designer, CMYK is kind of like what the file needs to end up being. So, because that's how the printers work with and all that jazz, right? So, the simple reason is the available visible colors in RGB are more numerous than they are in CMYK. CMYK does have a larger color space. It's like 4 billion colors versus 16 million colors in RGB. But the visible ones, as humans, we can see way more in the RGB spectrum than we can in CMYK color spectrum. So, and the simple reason for this is RGB is additive, so you're taking black and you're adding light colors to it, versus CMYK is just the opposite. You're starting with a white canvas and you're adding darker pigments. So it's as we know, CMYK tends to be a little bit darker and not quite as vibrant as the RGB colors. So I always start in RGB, and I keep everything in RGB until I need to actually export it. I let my PDF export job settings file. I can link you to that too. It's just the Panda game manufacturing one, but I'll link that too. Oh, hey, Dave. Sorry, I thought it was Di. I'll link you to the job settings file so you can use that. But I keep it in RGB because, we're doing all these Kickstarter graphics now. We're doing ads. We're doing so many other things that you really want to have that luxury. If you convert to CMYK, you're just going to take that sharpness and the vibrance and just get rid of it completely right away. You have a high-res PNG. James has a question here. I have a high-res PNG, but when I send it to the printer, it comes out grainy. Any ideas? What would you call high-res, James? Do you know what the PPI is on that? Hey, Chris, good to see you. All right, well, while James is replying, what I'm going to do, 300 PPI 8x8. That's a good question. I'd have to see it. Feel free to send that to me on Facebook Messenger, and we can see if we can sort that out. Awesome. All right. So first up, we're going to be taking a look at card design, and I'm going to grab a card that I used to that I designed not too long ago. Mar in the chat worked on Luthier as well, and this was a great example. I'm kind of able to show all of the things I want to talk about in this one card deck because it has everything. So I'm just going to start at the very beginning, and let's see if we can kind of go from there. And excuse me. And if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them if I see them. Okay, so whenever we're starting any file, I'll just for a second, I'll just create a new file here. The usual card size for like a metric poker, we'll say, is 63 by 88 millimeters. I always add 3 millimeters bleed to my cards. I used to add 5, but it was excessive. We didn't need to, so. And we're going to create that. And I also pull my margin down to 3 as well. The reason why I do that is because that's the threshold that Panda Game Manufacturing really likes to have the safe zone around your edge of your card so that there's no text or anything important that could be cut off if there is drift and when you're printing. I'm going to take a second to say this right now. Panda Manufacturing, I'm going to talk about them a lot as we're doing things today because they are, in my experience, I've dealt with a dozen printers over my experience as a graphic designer in tabletop games, and they have the most stringent guidelines for when they're printing. So my thought is, if we're going to adhere to their guidelines, then everybody else will just be gravy. We'll be cool with everybody else. So Panda likes to have, whether it's on cards or tokens or boards or anything, a 3 millimeter safe zone for anything important inside, and then at least a 3 millimeter bleed on the outside. So we have that here. We have margins, we have bleed. They're all set to 3 millimeters. Our card is 63 by 88. We're going to take off facing pages because we're not doing a book. And away we go. It is a small bleed, but James is saying that's a pretty small bleed, isn't it? It is a small bleed, but with the technology that it is today, if you're getting any drift, and with some of the better manufacturers, you really, it's negligible or it's unintelligible anyways, unnoticeable. If you are getting drift, it's like sub 1 millimeter. So 3 millimeters is plenty. Yeah. For punch board, 6 and 6 is right. 6 millimeters for punch board, yes, but then if you think about it, that's 3 millimeters on either side of the token. Anyway, we'll get to that too later. So James is saying, isn't it 6 and 6? But yeah. So, okay, we got our card here. The very first thing I do when I'm making a card is I create a die line. So we're going to get our let's get rid of this. Get our rectangle tool, click here, 63 by 88. Here we go. We'll center that. Oh, change this to page. We'll center this. The layout that I use, I'll touch on that real quick. The layout that I use, if you go up here to Window and then Workspace, it's advanced. I love the advanced one just because it kind of gives you all of the stuff that we need to do, like alignment, like, pass through, all the, depending on what tool you're selecting, it has all the different things that you need, and it's handy. A lot of the other ones are very specified to certain tasks. This one kind of has most of the bits from all the good ones, so it's really handy. All right, so we've done that. We're going to round our corners to 3 millimeter and round there. That's our pencil edge. It's black right now. So we're going to change that to cyan. So we're going to use the X key or just click on this little guy here to go to select the stroke. We can go cyan or we can go magenta. Let's go magenta, actually. We're going to double click on this to open up the swatch. We're going to untick name with color value. We're going to call this die line. And then we're going to change this from color type to spot. And what a spot color is it's not a mixed color like every color that we have. If you look down here, CMYK, this is like if you have your printer at your home, you have 4 color cartridges. If it's a color printer, you'll have 4 color cartridges, sometimes 5 or 6, depending on if it has extra blacks and things. But there's always a cyan, a magenta, a yellow, and a black. Spot colors, sometimes you'll hear people refer to Pantone colors. These are spot colors that are mixed, and there's a formula to mix these, and they're just pure color, and they are treated separately. They're not a mixed color when it comes to applying them to your print. For instance, so we use spot colors to separate them from the CMYK of the artwork, of the frame, of all the art that we're doing and all the design that we're doing. That's all CMYK based. By creating the die line and any spot treatments like foil or UV in spot colors, we're able to separate those out so they're not mixed in with all the other stuff. And they kind of hover on a different layer as well. So spot color, it's color mode, that's fine. And we're going to hit OK. So now you see here in our color palette, our swatches palette, there's this little spot on our color swatch here. And that's what we want to see. So we know that it's spot. The next thing we're going to do to our die line to make sure that we're playing nice is we're going to go up to our window and we're going to go to output and look at attributes. And with our die line selected, we're going to make sure that we click overprint stroke. What that means is it's going to print all of the CMYK stuff first, and then it's going to digitally print the stuff in the file that is spot color, that is set to overprint on top. If you don't do that, what ends up happening is it knocks out the color beneath it. So if you turn the spot plate off in the PDF, which we'll see in a little bit, you'll see a white void where this die line was, rather than color underneath it like you should. All right. And then the very last thing we're going to do for this die line is we're going to name our layer. Die line. Perfect. So we've named our swatch. We've named our die line layer. We set it to overprint. We've set it to spot color. We're set. So we need a new layer for our content. Depending on how things work, I will create a whole bunch of layers. The bottom one sometimes will be like, art. Then the top one will be probably text and content. And then let's call this one a frame. Oops, let's call this one framework. We're not actually going to put anything on these. I just kind of want to give you a tour through how I kind of do things. I have to look at the comments here for a second. All right, cool. So, as you start laying out your card, you're going to be, and the reason why, okay, well, I will talk about this too. So one of the tips that I talked about a few weeks ago is I work in InDesign. InDesign is kind of like my home. My when they say ollie oxen free, I come back to InDesign because it just plays so nicely with everything. I'll create things. Like I could have created this die line in Illustrator and placed it here. Sometimes I will do that for more complicated things like punch boards. If I have a complicated or some other, like a diagram, I'll do it in Illustrator and place it in here. If I have a photo, I'll do that in Photoshop and place it in here. Or an illustration, I'll do that in Photoshop and place it in here. But the great thing about InDesign is it has such fine control over styles, over how it treats placed links and deals with them if you have any issues. All of that stuff is just so much better, in my opinion, in InDesign than it is in the other apps. And the beauty is, if you create stuff in Illustrator and Photoshop and you're placing them, you can just right-click on the link here if you need to change something and go edit original, and it opens it up in those applications. So you can do what they call round-trip editing. You save it, you close it, you come back here, and it's updated. Super easy. So now we're going to lock the die line layer so that we can play around. Actually, no, what we're going to do, we're going to unlock that. We're going to take this and we're going to cut it, go over to our pages, because the first thing we want to do is create a parent page. So this section up here is for all the parent pages. They used to be called master pages, but now they're called parent pages. So this is basically if you have certain elements on your card that you want to have on every single card or page or board or whatever you're making that you're doing of this type, then put them on the parent page. They still obey all of the layers and everything too. So if you want something on every page to be on a higher layer than something else, that's fine. It'll still obey all of that stuff. So we're going to double click on this parent here. And then we're going to go Option Command Shift V, or the same as paste in place, which is basically pasting it from where I cut it positionally. And then layer, it's pasted the same layer, which is great. If it didn't paste to the same layer, what you can do a lot of the time is there's these great little flags here where it's ungroup, remembers layers, and paste remembers layers. Sometimes that can really screw you up, but other times it's your lifesaver. Okay, so now we want to start putting in placeholders for our content. So I know that there's going to be a image up here. So I grabbed a rectangle frame tool there. I know that. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to right away, as soon as I place a frame that I know it's going to be there and I've sized it correctly, I'm going to go over to object styles. I'm going to create an object style for this. This is going to be main card art. Why do I do that? Because once I've done that for all of the different things on the page, on the card, when I've built the 150 or 300 card deck or what have you, I noticed, oh, darn, I forgot, so if we have like, say, the title here, and this is, so we're going to call this title, card title. It's like, oh, darn, the client doesn't want the title at the bottom of the illustration and wants it at the top. So now because this box on every single card is styled with this object style, I can go in and I can go, we're going to change the size and proportion. Sorry, size and position, my bad. Change the position to Y only, and we're going to go preview and bring it up to where we want it and hit OK. Once we do that, every single text box with that style will be repositioned to that point. It is like seriously a lifesaver. When we worked on Divinity Original Sin, I can't tell you how many times I did this because we thought we were done and then changes would come in. So, just the same, we're going to grab this art one. We're going to say that needs to come down now because it's now overshadowing the title. So, again, we're going to go to size and position, change the Y only. And we're going to go down, down like this. Perfect. All right. Anyways, basically it's lather, rinse, repeat. You always want to creating all of your different frames for your stuff. Once you've done that, then you kind of are ready to. And what I usually do is I usually build a card, and the card I usually build is not any card in particular. It's hopefully we have a spreadsheet that has all of the card data in it. And what I end up doing is finding in each one of the different fields the worst offender, longest text of each one of those fields. I put them all together in one Frankenstein type card, so that forces me to make sure that whatever font size I use for the title, for the ability, for the UID, whatever it is, that can be I can size it so that I've already know which is the worst offender, and I can everything else. If I know that those fit, everything else will be fine. Chris had a question. Matt, do you use InDesign for back of box? Yeah, absolutely. Front of box, back of box, everything. Yep. Sorry, let me just pour some more tea here. All right. So let's go over to the Luthier card. So here's what our Luthier card looks like. And it's kind of looking, if you've never seen this before, this is what a card looks like that you've set up to be data merged. What's data merge, you ask? Well, it allows you to use, hey, Catherine, it allows you to use a spreadsheet or a CSV file, comma separated value file derived from a spreadsheet to create a card deck. There, you can liken it to back in the day using Microsoft Word's mail merge feature to make these mailing labels. But the beauty about InDesign is you can do it with files and not just text. You can say, hey, for this framework, we're going to have different frames for this thing. Each one of those frames is actually a different INDD file or a different PSD, and you can chuck those in there. So that's what we do. Okay, so parent pages, object styles, we talked about text styles. So yeah, text styles. Styles are your best friend in InDesign. We want to use styles for everything. If something doesn't have a style on it, then it shouldn't be there. That's whether it's an object style, a text style, or a character, some kind of paragraph or character style. Tables as well. I got up and close and personal with table styles doing the Daggerheart book. They just, down the road, if you have to change something on 30 or 40 or 50 or more cards or objects, and you don't have a style that you can just change it once and have everything change, you're going to be cursing yourself. You'll only do that once. Well, maybe not more than once, but we'll see. Catherine had a question. Do you take any steps at this early stage of the design to prepare for potentially long translation text? That's a great question. So in part of our process and talking to our clients, we will say, where is this going to be sold? And that can really help us build that. If we're doing our job well, Catherine, yes, we do. But depending on how the card is laid out or how the components are laid out, that can, a lot of the time that's not really an issue. But just keeping that in mind that's a great question to ask. So I'm happy that you're thinking about it. So keeping that in mind is definitely going to serve you for the best in the long run. All right. So this card started off just like this. We had all of our different frames, and we kind of we built a card. We built this card. Let me just turn on data merge. So I don't know why it does this. Could you guys see this? There's a black window over the data merge window. And to get rid of it, I have to go and create a data merge of one card. Close this file. And data merge is working. I can see everything now. It's so strange. Just for my work computer, not my one at the home office. I don't know. It's so strange. So anyways, so this is quite a complex data merge. So there's a lot of fields in this card. So I'm just going to turn on preview for the first card right now. So, there we go. So when I built this, the way I start my data merge is I build the first card, and that's like with graphics and text and everything, or the Frankenstein card actually, is what I was talking about before. I build everything, and then once I've built everything, and they have the frames the right size and all that, I download my CSV, which is, I'll open the CSV for this one so you guys can see what that looks like. Sheets. Oh, there it is. List your cards. I had it open last night. All right. So patrons export. So this is our CSV that we're using for the patron cards. Anything in the column headings, anything you see that has an @ symbol before the name, that means that it is an image file or a file. And anything that does not is just text. You're also going to see a bunch of stuff that has curly brackets around it. And I will show you what that means in a second. One thing I will touch on here as well is CSVs and InDesign and data merge does not play well. Yes, James, we did. We were fortunate enough to work with Dave on Luthier. We were super happy about that. Frederick, like for instance, this one here, Frederick Chopin. There's accents on the two E's here. That doesn't translate well, and you'll see what that looks like in a second when we go through the data merge. Mara's having flashbacks. Mara worked on these files, and they did an amazing job. But yes, Mara, as am I. So we download this as a CSV, and then when we attach it to our data merge, it gets translated into all these fields. And you can see that there's T's for text fields and little landscape images for image fields. So once we've built our card, we go through and we basically, I'll use my white arrow, because if I use the black arrow when I select something, it selects the frame itself. I want to select what's inside the frame. So I'll select the white arrow, sorry about that, the white arrow, and I'll delete the contents. And then with the frame still selected, I'll click on whatever. So for instance, let's see here. I'll go here and I'll go era. I'll click on whatever field needs to be in there. And I'll do that for every single little frame that I have. Cool. So let's go back to this for a second. This sheet here, so we have the original sheet, which is the client data sheet. And this is what the client uses, the publisher uses for all of their data. And this is how they play test. This is how they balance their game. We do not touch this. We do not edit any of the data on this sheet. The sheet that we use, we make a new sheet and we call back to that other sheet. So look for here, if there's a number in the patron's sheet, which is his sheet, the publisher's sheet, yada yada yada. If this stuff is correct, then we're gonna say put P-Noble in curly brackets in this thing. Here's this formula that is in this cell. Now you're asking yourself, wow, Matt's a savant when it comes to making these these formulas. I am not. Do you know who the savant is? ChatGPT. That is my friend for writing all of my Excel and Google Sheet formulas. It is so helpful. It is the best. I use it for spreadsheets. I use it for InDesign scripts. I've done it for Google scripts as well. It's so good. You can just ask it in plain English what you want to do, and it may give you a couple errors the first time around, but you can tell it that, oh, it's throwing an error in this area, and it'll say, oh, that's because of this, and here's a new one. Try this one, and usually it works. So, little trick for you. Okay, so we've downloaded all this stuff. We go back to our card. Am I moving too slow, too fast for you guys? Like, do you want me to? Is there anything you want me to touch on more? Just shout it out. I'll do my best. Okay, so we've got our. I'm gonna turn off the preview. We've got our stuff. So a lot of this, if you look at it, a lot of this disappears, right? Because the banner here, as we're flipping through. So if we look at the first card, there's in Luthier there's 3 different types of levels of card. There are the ones that have the 3 requirements, and then there's ones that have 2 requirements like this, and then there's ones that have 1 requirement like this. So that requires us to, no pun intended, to have this banner thing, which is all this L-shaped thing is one big image. So that is this, where is it? Banner. That's the banner field. The frame is the frame field. The back is because, oh, we didn't do it. This is different. So we have in the actual production file, this is just a test file that I wanted to use for tonight. In the production file, this is a 2-page data merge. So you can actually data merge with the front on page 1 and the back on page 2 if you have different backs, which we do in this case. And then that way you can actually just go front, back once you do the whole data merge, because for every record in your CSV, it'll do both pages. And you can put the fields on both pages, and it'll refer to those in that one record every time it cycles through. Okay, let's see. So yeah, data merging. I'm not going to go too much further into it. Really helpful. The next thing I want to talk about is, oops, let's see, close that. Let's talk about styles a bit more. So I'm going to go back here, and if we create, I'm going to Alt or Option drag that to create a new one. This is going to be our ability area, and we're going to change this. So this is a new style called card ability. And this is great. So this is our ability. So if we have like, when this card is played, actually, why do we do this? When played, attack at plus 3 strength. So that's cool. And we're gonna do this. This is gonna be our we're gonna go over to our paragraph styles. We have no style, no text styles in this thing yet, so we're gonna go here and we're gonna call this ability text. Ability body, we'll call it. And I don't love the font. Let's change the font. The Mini and Pro, the standard. Oh, this is nice. Moray. Let's do that. Actually, no, I need something a bit more. Does this have? Oh, it does. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go here. So now that we've changed the font here, if we look over here at, why bad, Matt? Attack and strength? Oh, sure, whatever. Editor, I am not, James. So we're going to go to our styles, our paragraph styles, and we have changed the font, but we haven't updated the style. So it has this little plus symbol next to it. We have two options here. If we didn't mean to do the change, if we wanted the original font, we can go down here to this clear overrides. So what that does is it puts it back to what we originally called or defined the style as. I don't want to do that. I want to change the style to look like what this is here. Pardon me. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go redefine style. And what that does is it redefines it to how it looks currently. Great. So we're done. But we're not done, because if I'm looking at this really quickly, I don't know. I want to pull out this when played part, because it's almost like a keyword that really kind of, when you're sorting through these cards really fast, if you see something that we want to use some emphasis on this. If we go back to our design principles, we want to use a little bit of emphasis. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to character styles and we're going to create a character style, and let's call it color with a U, red. Color hyphen red. And then we're going to go over to character color and we're going to go red. Okay. But we don't want to apply that to the whole thing, so we're just going to go back to hit none. I should have deselected this box before I did that. So thank you, James, for blessing me for my sneeze. All right. So I want to pull out when played somehow. How are we going to do that? Easily. So this, we know, has our paragraph style ability body. I'm going to double click on that. We're going to go into this, say, you know what? Every time I type a keyword in here, it's going to end in a colon. And it's always going to be at the beginning of the paragraph. Huh. How can I make that work for me? Well, if we go down to this thing called drop caps and nested styles, we can create a new nested style. And we're going to say no. And every style here that we're going to look at, they're all character styles because we're already inside of a paragraph style. The hierarchy goes object, paragraph, character. So it's a character style is a sub style of a paragraph style. Now we're going to say none because we don't want to change. Actually we do. We want to start with red. And we're going to hit the preview. So it's going to change this whole thing because it says color red through one word. Not enough. So we can change this. We can click on this and we can just put the character in there that we want to do it up until. And if I just deselect that, boom, right away, it is now read up into the colon. Awesome. So then we're going to go new nested style and then none through end nested style character. New nested style. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. And that's it. So if we hit OK. So now if I go again here and say when played or when discarded, lose 5 gold. automatically formats for you. That's cool. So we're going to just put that aside for a second, and we're going to create another ability box and do a little bit of a different thing this time. So this will be ability box, ability body 2. Oops, that should be a text box. See, I've created a... So this is, because there's an X here, we'll have to go up here to object, content, and it's going to go to text. So what if you have, let's just start typing. So I know that this ability box is always going to be a bold line for the ability power header. So like it's going to be header, and so ability power header, and then it's going to follow with ability power long description. And say we want to style this with small caps and make it blue. Top level design stuff here, I tell you. And then this one here, we want to change this to Adobe Sans because we want this to be a little bit less ornate. So no, Adobe, I think it's Adobe Clean. Yeah, Adobe Clean. So we're going to go here, boom, that's there. And we're going to knock this down to 9 point. And it's a little too, I want it light condensed. Do I have a light condense? I do not. I'll condense is fine then. That's fine. So, okay. And then each one of these, none of these have, actually, you know what? We're going to go, so we have a paragraph style. We're going to create ability header. And then this is going to be ability description. So I know that every single time what if I have like 4 or 5 of these? What if I have like 3 or 4 of these? And what if I have that on 40 cards? Do I want to go, and when I data merge stuff, it might not be formatted the way I want to. So what happens? What if I'm typing, do I want to go, do I select all this and then go, okay, we're going to go header, and then I select all this and we're going to go description and do that to every line. Little tip here too, for character styles, you need to select whatever text you want to apply the character style to. If you just want to apply the paragraph style to whatever paragraph you're in, you just need to have your cursor clicked into that paragraph and you can select it and it'll do the entire paragraph. So, okay. What do we do? Well, it's really simple. What we can do is this. So we're going to go, this is this giant strength. It's in the wrong paragraph style. So let's start here. Okay, so we have giant strength. That's our header. What can we do? Oh, look, what's this next style thing? What if I go ability description? Hit OK. And I go enter, and I go player has plus 60 strength. Now, what if I know that the next thing has to be, if I hit enter again, I know that this ability long paragraph, the long description is always going to be just one paragraph. And whatever I hit next should be the ability header again. We can create a little bit of a circular thing and go double click on this and go next style, instead of same style, we're going to go back to the header. Oops, that's not it. There it is. I hit OK. So I hit next, and now it's going to be, super speed. Player has double movement. And then again, it's just right back to where we started. Our next thing, and it just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So that's an easy way to, if whatever you're typing, it's always going to be the same paragraph styles, one after another after another. If there's a cycle, then you can take advantage of that by using next and previous styles. Okay, so not only does ChatGPT help me with data merging, not data merging, spreadsheets and InDesign scripts, but it also helps me with something called grep styles. And I'm going to go back to over here to our patron cards. And if you look at all of these icons and we take our text tool, and this is a font. It's actually a font, not an icon. So let's turn off the preview. And we're going to expand this a little bit. Actually, why don't we do this? So we'll keep the preview on, and we're going to copy this text, and let's just paste it into a cell here. Look at that. That's the text in that cell. So these curly brackets are actually creating a ligature, which is a bunch of characters together to form that the font looks at and go, oh, we're going to take all of these characters together, and you want us to do this one glyph for all of these characters instead of all of them individually. So we use a program called Font Self. I'll put the link in the description. That allows us to create a vector font and then assign ligatures to that, to each of the glyphs. So when we do all of these are all icons. These are all icons. But how do we, it's pretty easy. I mean, stuff like here is pretty easy if it's just all icons. But what happens when you have a 2 in here, and that's if we have a 2 in here, which is not an icon font. So we have to figure out a way to tell InDesign, hey, I only want to style the stuff that has the brackets around it. How do I do that? Well, we use part of the paragraph style called grep. And it stands for something regular expression programming or something like that. Anyways, it's like programming stuff. And I use ChatGPT to help me find the best way to do that. So we're going to go to our completed bonus paragraph style. And it has this little thing here down called grep styles. And grep, you don't need to know. Yeah, that's cool. So here's the expression that tells the style what we want to do. So we're going to apply this completed bonus icons, which is a character style I've defined in my character styles, which basically changes the font to, so our base font, let me just go back to here. Our base font for this paragraph style is Argent CF. Argent CF is just a regular font. It has letters, it has numbers, it has all the regular glyphs you would think of. It doesn't have icons. But when we go down to grep here and we say, hey, this expression is basically saying anything inside of curly brackets, including the curly brackets, I want you to treat with this character style here. And then that way we're able to mix fonts in with global, regular, expression, search, and print. There you go. Grep. So we're able to kind of create all of this stuff and not have to worry about copying and pasting. In the old days, I would do a data merge, and then I would have these, like I would use tags like this with like the curly brackets. But before I knew this was a possibility, or before it was a possibility, I would do a search and replace. I would open up an icon file, copy, like Command C or Control C, and copy the icon file, and then do a search and replace for that text, and paste the clipboard contents, which is this icon. What do you think happened every time I needed to change that icon? I had to go in and manually copy or highlight and paste the new one. So really wasn't great. This is so much better. So by using grep styles, again, ChatGPT helped me write all this stuff. By using grep styles, we're able to easily incorporate that into our data merge. I was saying before, what happens when we have accents? Let's see, where is it? Oh, did we take it out of here? Oh, there we go. Perfect example. So House of Esther, what is that? Square root degree symbol ZY. So this is what happens to accents. It also happens to certain other characters as well. The good news is if you're working in a long document that you have a lot of these errors creep in from the data merge, it's not just putting random characters in there. It has a table where it says every time you see this, it's always going to be like, what is this? House of Esther. Oh, it's an A accent aigu. So every time you see an A accent aigu, we're gonna pop in a square root and a degree symbol. So you can do a search and replace for square root degree symbol, and then search and replace it with A accent aigu, and you're golden. It just, unfortunately, this is a limitation of the data merge. All right. What else? What else I talked about? ChatGPT, grep styles, data merge. Cool. So, oh, we lost a few people. Oh, dang. So, all right. Object styles, we talked about text styles, next previous styles, next styles. So now that we have our data merge all set up, they have this preview thing where you can go through and just make sure that there's no overset text and things like that. And if you're happy once you've stepped through the whole thing, we click this little button up here, which says, let's do the data merge. We're going to do all the records. And we want a single record per page, and let's go. Are you really, Vika? That's funny. All right, so we have some overset text. So this is a little thing that tells you where we got overset text. There's another place where you're going to be able to see that too. So we're going to hit close. If you look down here, it says there's one error. So if we click this and go pre-flight panel, this is a great little tool, pre-flight. So we can go over here and click, expand all these, click on this page number, and oh, there's one of those funny things again. So we're overset. So basically, we'll need to expand this. I think if I recall correctly, we ended up taking, well, first of all, is it Elizabeth? Yeah, it's A. So we're going to change this to option E. There we go. And then to make this, we need to make this smaller. So we're going to go down to 8. We'll do that as an exception, and then the rest of them will be fine. So we got no errors. Perfect. The pre-flight panel is really great. You can also customize this too. So you can go into here, you can define a profile, what you want it to look for. This is the standard one. I haven't, for this particular file, I haven't specified my own, but you can do a bunch of, like, have a look in here, and you can do a bunch of things that are more, in tune or in relevant to our industry. That would be really great. If you know that, printers can only handle a stroke width of 0.25 and above, then you can set the minimum stroke width or no transparency or whatever it is. I encourage you to have a look at that and just play around with those things too, and it'll it's great. Speaking of playing around, one of the pieces of advice that I give myself all the time, as well as others, is experimenting is one of your best friends. And everybody says, "Oh, I don't have time to I have so much work I have to do. I don't have time to experiment." Yes, you do. If you experiment for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds a day, that's all you need to do. For instance, you grab something up here, you go object, and we go, caption setup. What does this do? And just explore. Next time you need to do something, you're like, oh, I think I found that I experimented the other day and found that thing I needed to do now. That was a piece of advice I got from Dave Cross, one of the Photoshop professionals at Photoshop World one year, and I try and do that as much as I can. He was also the guy that said, we went to a Photoshop shortcuts thing, session, and he was like, Photoshop has all of these like one key shortcuts, like M for curves, and you try and think of these mnemonics that, like, why is M for curves? And he's like, curves. And everybody laughed at that one, but I think the one that I like, just about fell off my chair, was the healing brush is J, and he had a little story where he said, somebody came up to him one time and says, "You know why the healing brush is J?" And Dave says, "No, what is it?" He's like, "It stands for Jesus, I'm healed." And I thought that was quite funny. So anyways, all right. So pre-flight, good. And I think we can wrap up data merging for now. So let's close that. Don't save. And then don't save. And our beautiful card, we will not save it either. All right, next up, thanks for sticking with me. Next up, we've got just a short tour through punch boards. I do have a YouTube video on how I do punch boards, a little bit longer than what I'm going to do here, but I'll kind of run you through it real quick and see what we can come up with. All right, so we're going to start over in Illustrator. So we have, actually, no, we're going to start in Photoshop. Nope. There it is. All right, close this, don't save. I've got some tokens that I made. No, they aren't the same, Steve, and that really sucks. Steve was just saying that they aren't the same through every Adobe product. And the reason why that is because Photoshop is really the only Adobe product that started off as an Adobe product. Illustrator was Aldus, and I can't remember who made FrameMaker, but FrameMaker is InDesign. FrameMaker turned into InDesign. So they had these baked in shortcuts that came from, they were all different products, and then Adobe just bought them all and added some extra functionality to make them work together. Yeah, all this freehand, and then yeah, and then PageMaker. That's right, not FrameMaker. It was really weird that it was FrameMaker and PageMaker, but whatever. All right, cool. So we're gonna go to tutorial. We have some icons or some tokens that we worked on. My beautiful tokens. So we have these guys. And we have a nice little arrow. So we have 3, 2, and 1 wooden coins, and then this blue arrow. The client says that they want 8 of each of these coins on a punch board and 4 blue arrow tokens. Great. And we know that this is the size of the tokens. We've already created the die lines for the single tokens. Wonderful. How are we gonna put? And we know the box is 210 by 200. So what does that mean? Then that means that if we have a 210 by 200 setup box or a 2-piece box, you always want to go at least 15 millimeters smaller than the exterior dimensions of the box for your punch boards. That'll give you a good amount of play inside and not be too tight. So that leaves us with a 195 by 185 punch board. Now, as James was saying earlier, we want to make sure that we have 6 millimeters on the inside of our perimeter, free of any cut lines, as well as 6 millimeters between parts as well. I'm not going to do my usual for complex punch boards that I use the nesting tool that I have done. If you want to take a look at the nesting tool, and I suggest you do, take a look at the video that I'll link the video in the description. There's not too many videos on my channel, so you can see it. So, all right, so we need 24 of these, and because they're all the same size, they're 25 millimeters by 25 millimeter diameter coins, and this guy I think is 40 by 40. Yeah, 40 by 39.999, so 40 by 40. Perfect. How are we going to make sure that each one of these is 6 millimeters from the other one? So easily, we're going to select our paths. We're going to go up here to Object. We're going to go Path, Offset Path. And this is going to create a path larger or smaller, depending on if this is a positive or negative number, from our original curves. So we want to go 6 millimeters. And that's going to give us our bumpers that we need. And we can change this to round. That's not really an issue for here, but what it helps with is if there's a sharp corner, it'll change that sharp corner. If you're going out, it'll change the sharp corner into a rounded corner. All right, hit OK. Great. So we've got these 4 curves. What do we do now? We're going to take the outside ones. Yep. Okay. Take the outside ones, and we're going to fill them with 30% opacity blue and no stroke. And then we're going to group these guys. So now when we can place these, we're going to see the overlap. This is how to do it manually. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to go, what if we just go here? That's too big. So maybe we can nest these the other way. We're going to go here. Oh, we can crawl back a little bit of space. Perfect. And then do 2 more. Great. Done. How about these guys? How many can we fit across? All right, so what if we go here, and then that works, and then we're gonna go, no, it's not working. So what if we do this then? What if we flip these? Whoops, not that way. That way. Still doesn't work. All right. What if we... So we're going to group all of these. This is the trial and error that you go through when you're making punch boards, right? You want to make sure that everything plays nice, but that you're also able to keep it organized. So if we do this, and then we go that, and then we'll space them out evenly. We even have some room that we could cheat this over to here. Perfect. Done. All right. So now that we've all, let's ungroup everything. Ungroup all. And then now we can delete all of, now that we've got everything spaced and nothing's overlapping, we're happy with this. We're going to go here and we're going to select same fill color and then delete. All right. Layer. Cut line. So we've got our cut line. We've got our die line. That's what we're going to be using to cut. And what do we do with die lines? Anybody? What do we do? I'm waiting for the chat. What do we do? What do we do to our die lines? I'll wait for the chat to catch up. So I was surprised. My D&D group is playing tonight. Spot color. Ignore them. Yes, James, ignore them. Spot color and overprint. Yes, that's right, Mar. So before I go back to that, my D&D group is playing tonight, and I told them, I said, get in the chat, run my character, get in the chat. If you need me to do any rolls, I've got my 1 pound solid copper D20 here. And I rolled this on our team call this time, on our all hands call today. I rolled this as a practice roll, and wouldn't you know it, I rolled a nat 20. So I thought that was pretty good foreshadowing for what was going to happen tonight. Anyways, all right, so perfect. So we're going to set these all nat 20s. That's right. We're going to set these to overprint, and they are set to overprint perfect. And we're going to go to our swatches, which is up here. Double click on the die line. Oh, I've already done this, so it's great. Actually, whoops, I filled it by mistake. So there we go. I'm going to double click on this swatch. Die line and 100%. Great, perfect. You're going to see in the swatch panel, you're going to see this little, in Illustrator anyways, there's a little white triangle at the bottom right corner of the swatch. What that means, it means it's a global color. So when you changed, if I change this color here, for instance, to make it all black, everything, actually, of course, they're selected, so of course they'll do that. If I deselect that and I change the color to purple, say, and I hit OK, they change whether they're selected or not. It's because it's globally assigned to that color. So whenever the swatch changes, everything that is already that color changes too. All right, so we've got our cut line. Awesome. Now what we need to do is we need to create our containers for our tokens. So we went on the premise that everything needed to be minimum 6 millimeters apart. So if we're going to create containers, they should be no more than half of that distance between each. So if this is 6 millimeters here, the bleed on this should be 3, and that's as chance should have it, that's exactly what we want. So what we can do is we can do that offset path thing again. Object, path, offset path. We're going to go 3 millimeters this time. And now that we've done this, don't deselect anything. Cut everything, which only selects the new curves that were created. Go to our layers. We're going to go down here. We're going to call this containers. And we're going to hit Command F or Control F to paste in front. And now we can, the next thing we can do is we'll make it a different color just so that we know that these are not die lines. Awesome. They're on a different layer. Perfect. Now these are ready to go into InDesign. Do we toss the whole thing in InDesign? No, we don't. We're going to take everything. Trying to be a good design citizen, Steve. Of course I name my layers. So we're going to click this little button here on the layers that selects everything on the layer. We're going to hit, oh, actually before we do this, we're going to create on the container side, we're going to create a box that is the size of our artboard, which is 195 by 185, I think it was. Yeah. So we're going to center that, and then now we're going to select everything, which includes this box. And the reason why that box is important is so that it's going to let us center and place everything exactly where we need to place it in our InDesign file. I don't usually support pasting anything in InDesign. 195 by 185, and we're going to go down to this time it's going to be a 6 millimeter margin and a 3 millimeter bleed, and hit create. Normally I do not support pasting of vectors into InDesign, but in this case, this is one of the only cases where I do actually support it. So we're now pasting our green layer, which is our container layer, and we want to make sure it's centered. It is perfect. Go over to, so this is all one complex object. We don't want that. So we're going to go to object, we're going to go to paths, and then release compound path. And that's going to allow us to delete this outer box, which we don't need. Great. Now that we have all these containers, we're going to select them all. We're going to turn off, we're going to remove any color from the stroke or the fill. Over to object. What type of content are they? They're going to be graphic content, so that puts the X's in everything. Great. Now we can delete this layer. And we're going to save this. Oh, did we? Yeah, we're going to save this as dieline final.ai. I'll show you a really cool thing too. So when we have our layers, and for Steve, we're going to name this one token art, and then we're going to create a new layer, dieline. I'm going to paste some, oops, oh, I just about spilled my tea all over my keyboard. I'm going to place our recent folders. For you Mac users out there, if you don't have default folder X, I think it's called, which allows you to go to like recent files and recent folders, I highly recommend it. It's so good. Links, punch boards, and then we're going to go dieline final. So we're going to place that. Now check this out. If we go to our swatches, look at that. The dieline swatch that we specified in Illustrator made its way over to InDesign because it's part of the Illustrator file. This makes it so important to make sure that every time you create a swatch, it has the same name if it's going to appear in, if you're going to create like, if you have multiple parts to this that are in different files, make sure you name it the same case, the same name, and the same color. And it has the same color. Because what that's going to do is it's going to all keep them the same swatch, and when they get pulled together in InDesign, having consistency and in things like that is gonna really pay off in the end. All right, so we've got our die line. We're gonna lock that layer because we don't need to futz around with it anymore. So now we have all these containers. This tool, I love this tool. So we're going to use this thing called the content collector. First, we're going to place all of our items. So we got our blue arrow. I'm going to place that. Whoops. Place that here, and then we're going to grab our wooden coins, and we're going to go 1. Whoops, that's tiny, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. So we're going to use our. So we're going to go content collector, which is B, I think. I'm not sure where it is on the thing here. Oh, it's right here. Content collector. So this content collector tool is fantastic. Think of it as like a conveyor belt of like a conveyor belt of artwork. First, we need to load it, and there's two modes to this thing. There's loading, which is this button here, and then there's placing, which is this button here. We're going to click on this button to make sure we're loading it, and then we're just going to click once on each one of these things that we want to place. We've loaded it. Great. Now we're going to go place. But how are we placing? So there's 3 different types of placement too. There's it basically placing once and it removes it from the conveyor belt, placing multiple times, and that means you can use the arrow keys when you're done placing one certain type of thing, and then use the right arrow to move to the next thing and the left arrow to move back and stuff like that. And then there's this one here, place, keep on the conveyor belt, but load next. So that's good for like if you know that it's going to be, if I have 1, 2, and 3, and I know that I need to cycle 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that'll just do that. So let's start with we're going to select this middle one here, which is great. And we're going to go 1. Oh, that's not good. What happened there? Oh, I think I know what happened. Do you guys know what happened? Why is it not? Oh, that one's not going to work anyways, but. So the reason why this isn't working is because we don't have bleeds on any of this artwork. So we're gonna hit escape a bunch of times, get rid of all of these. We need to add bleeds to our artwork. So what I did is I made a droplet, a Photoshop droplet. Where did I put it? Oh, did I not put it? Oh, it's at home on my computer at home. Oh, well, all good. We'll just do this real quick. So we have our blue arrow PSD. We need to add bleeds. So it's a 3mm bleed, and this is currently set to 40 by 40, 39.96, which is basically 40. So image, canvas size. Actually, let's be smart about this. Let's go up to actions. And we're going to create a new action. We're going to go say add 3mm bleed and hit OK. And then we're recording. So every step we do now is going to be part of this action. So we're going to go image, canvas size, 39.96. I just realized that this won't work for the other links because they're not the same size, but that's okay. We're going to go +3 and then +3. No, that's not right. It used to be +6 again. So another +3. for a total of +6. And we want to make sure that we're centered. That's good. And we'll hit OK. Excellent. So then now we're just going to hit save and close. We can hit stop here. Math is hard at this hour, James. Yes, that's right. What did I hear somebody today? What they were saying that they were oh, I can't remember it. It was a word to say. It's kind of like a word to that described how math challenged they were. All right, so let's just do this one too. And for this one, we can actually. We're just going to delete this one because it's not going to work. But let's try this again. 3mm bleed. Work smarter, not harder, but not in this case. Canvas size +6, +6. Oh, I'm not showing you what I'm doing. It's only on the other screen. Here we go. So I'll just hit escape. So we got image, canvas size, +6, +6. And actually, why don't we just go 31, 31, so that we can round it up to make sure it's the right size. Hit OK. Done. And then stop. Then we're going to go to the next one. We're just going to hit play. We're going to go up here. We're going to hit play. Done. Then we're going to go over here, and we're going to hit play. Done. Save, close, save, close, save, close. All right. Go back to InDesign. Let's place these guys again. 1, 2, 3. Now we see that our frame is ever so much larger than it used to be. And then blue arrow, done. Awesome. What are we going to do? We're going to load the conveyor belt. Click, 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 click. We're now going to drop everything in. This one's going to work. Look at that, perfect placement. That one's going to work, perfect placement. Watch what happens when I paste it here. That'll work. We can fix that in a second. And then we're going to use the right arrow to go to the next one. Click, 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 and we're doing 8 of each. So there's 4. Right arrow to the next one. It's basically just paint by numbers. Super simple. Be careful. Sometimes you drag your mouse a little bit, and this is what happens when you place it. So don't do that. Make sure you're placing it nice and you're clicking and releasing where your mouse is. Otherwise, you're going to have funny stuff happen. Done. Okay, so what are we going to do about these arrows? Basically, what we can do is are they still 46 by 46? They are. Well, close enough. So what we can do, we know that these are just 180 degrees different. So we're going to go up here and click this twice. Using the white arrow when we're selecting stuff, which selects the thing inside the frame. There's a shortcut too. If you have your black arrow selected and you want to select something inside the frame, this little camera focus thing, you can click on that and it selects the thing inside the frame. If you're clicking on your image not on the circle using the black arrow, it selects the frame itself. So we can just use that and then rotate twice. We're done. And then for the backs, we can just lather, rinse, and repeat, and then export as we needed. I didn't add what I could have done for the coins. If I wanted to, I could just go in here and create a new layer underneath, grab this color, and hit. I'll just flatten this so I can just save the PNG back again. And then now that I go back here, I'll have to update my link, and it'll now be bled that nice gray color. So we could do that to the other ones too. Let's talk about spot channels for a second. We're almost done with the punch boards, but let's talk about that for a second. So what if we wanted the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s to be actually, instead of white, we want them to be like a silver spot foil or a spot UV even. We know that there are a couple of different ways of doing spot. We could, what was the font? Let's see here. Coin Master. This font is Evelith, one of my favorite fonts. Okay, so we know that this font is Evelith. We could have just, we could go here and we could go 3 and go to Evelith. What was it? Evelith Clean Regular, 41.74 points font size. So we're going to change this to Clean Regular. Let me go if I'm going too fast, by the way. 41.74 font size. Okay, so we know that that's that size, and we already have a die line as a spot layer or spot color. What we can do now is we can create another one. If we know that this is going to be spot UV, for instance, we're going to change this to spot color. Whenever I'm creating spot swatches, I always like to go all or nothing with my color values. For instance, like the die line's 100% magenta. We could go 100% cyan. For the Dagger Heart special edition stuff, we had spot foil, spot UV, die lines, and everything else. So sometimes I'll even have to do like 100 cyan, 100 yellow to make a green because I've already used up all three of the cyan, magenta, and yellow pure ones. But we don't need to do that in this case. So we're going to go spot UV. It's going to be blue, 100% cyan, and away we go. So we're going to call this spot UV. Make sure we select our type here. Let's just center that and make we double click on the bottom handle to make it the right size. If we come over here, and then we're going to go make sure our text is selected and hit spot UV. When you're moving stuff in InDesign, little trick, if you just grab it and move it right away, it grabs the empty frame window. You don't see the contents. However, and it really helps for placement of stuff. If you grab and before you start moving it, just hold, you'll see it shift a tiny bit. And then now when you drag it, it drags it so you can see it. It retains the look of the thing inside the frame. So I've just placed my spot UV 3 on top of my white 3. Great. One more thing we have to do to this. Anybody think they know what it is? That's right. We need to set this to overprint fill in our attributes. Because what's going to happen, let's do an experiment. We're going to go back to the 3, for instance. And it's not going to look very pretty, but we're just going to do it real quick. Unselect or select contiguous, and we're going to make this a green color, for instance. Okay, so we're going to hit save. So now all of the update links, all of these are green. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show you what happens if you don't set your spot stuff to overprint. So this one is set to overprint. And then this one, let's zoom in. Okay, that one we're going to uncheck. Oh wait, we have to select text. So we're going to uncheck overprint fill. We can delete these guys now. So we've got our UV. We're going to export this right now into our tutorial folder. And these are awesome tokens. And then we're going to the tabletop PDF settings, and that's basically just a minorly modified Panda GM1, which I'll have in the links. And we're gonna hit export. So let's open that up in Acrobat and see what that looks like. We can take a look at a little bit of a pre-flight in Acrobat. Awesome. So we see our blue. That's our blue spot stuff, right? Well, if we go up here to tools and we go use print production, there's all these print production tools here. What we want to check is we want to check pre-flight. No, not pre-flight, sorry. Output preview. What did output preview just do? If we look at the output preview window, there's process plates. And what a process color is that CMYK that we were talking about earlier, because it's a process of mixing cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And then there's spot plates, which is just a single color plates. And the cool thing about it is you'll see that all of the spot plates, they retain the name that we named them. So we can turn off the dye lines. We can turn off the spot UV. Oh, look what happened. Spot UV, why is this one white? It's because it's knocking out, because this is the one we did not set to overprint, and it's knocking out the ink underneath it. When you set it to overprint, like this left one was, it doesn't do that. Very, very important. Some people will say it's not that important as long as you put stuff on different layers. I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy where I do both. I think it's really handy to do both, and because some printers will want one and not the other. So not only, I don't even think we actually put on a different layer. So in this case, good for us. So that is what happens there. Spot stuff is really important to put on a different layer and to set to overprint. There's one more way that we can do spot colors, and let's show you how to do that now, or spot selections. So we're in Photoshop. We have our green 3 selected. If you go over to the panels over here, we're going to see channels. And one way that you can specify spot data is by creating a new channel, a spot channel. So we have made our selection of the 3. We see the marquee around it. We're going to go to the little hamburger menu because it looks like a little hamburger because there's layers. And we're going to go new spot channel. And then we can name this. What did we name the spot UV in InDesign? It was spot space UV all caps. All right, so we're going to name it the same thing here, and it was also 100% cyan. Let's do that as well. Done, and we're going to hit OK. We're going to save this as a PSD. So now we can actually delete all of this stuff. I'll show you a good thing about this and a bad thing about this. The good thing is you can make, this is a pretty simple selection, but you can also make, for spot UV, because it's ink, you can make a very complex selection and still have it spot UV'd, have spot UV and aqueous coatings applied to it. And you don't have to go through and redraw vectors over top of everything. I will show you, actually, let me see, do I have it? Yeah, here's a good example. So if you look at the spot, look at the spot coloring on this. That's the spot UV. It's like super detailed. That was done with a Photoshop spot channel. That was not done with a vector. So that's a bonus. That's a good thing. That's a pro for using a spot channel. One of the cons for using a spot channel is this. So we're going to link, and we're going to update all of our links. So we don't need to because we already did. Excellent. And because we need to replace these because these are all PNGs. All right. So we're going to right click on those, relink all instances of coin PNG, and we're going to go, no, coin3.psd. Done. So the con, we had our pro for this, but the con for this is there is no way to set a spot channel to overprint. And that's a problem. How do we get around this? Well, when you have a complex selection, I mean, this one isn't complex, but say it was, what you end up doing then is we're going to go back here and we're going to turn off this layer. See, if you turn off the art layer, what's left is the spot channel only. And we're going to go here and we're going to go coin3 spot UV. And then we'll hit undo. We'll turn the spot channel off, and we'll just resave this one as coin3.psd. All right. So then, oops, did we? Oh no! See, I hit an extra key. Coin3 apostrophe .ps3. All right. So we're going to do that. We need to update our links. So we're back to, whoops, we're not. Yeah, we're back to our green threes. Perfect. What we want to do now, though, is we want to copy all of these guys. And because we can't set them to overprint, what we need to do is actually create a new page. I'm going to put that here. And we're going to paste in place. And then we're going to replace all of these with our spot UV. So why don't we just do it like this? Why don't we just do here, spot UV. And then we're going to use our white arrow again to copy this, and then go to our black arrow, back to that. Command Shift, paste. Oh, that's not going to even do it. Delete, delete, delete. White arrow, delete. And then paste. No? Oh, well, let's use our content collector then. Go back to our content collector. Click on this guy. Go here. And then paste, paste, paste. So what we ended up having to do is say that these were the only things that had spot UV in them or on them. We now have this extra page before our art page. And when we specify in our document settings, bleed, we all know is like where the art was going to bleed to past the cut line. There's also this thing called slug. And what slug is it allows you to put a bunch into a bunch of information in the area that is outside of the bleed. So we're going to say on the top, we're going to add a 30 millimeter slug. And what that does is, what we can do now is we're going to say spot UV. And that'll show up when we do our export. And we're going to copy this, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to change this to artwork. So when these pages are printed out, they know that this page is for spot UV only, and this page is for the artwork. So when we export this now to Awesome Tokens -2, yeah, it'll be for replay, Vika. So we're going to go to our export and Awesome Tokens -2. So now we have our spot layer here. And if you see, it's in exactly the same spot as, no pun intended, as the threes. The cool thing with when you're previewing stuff in Acrobat using the output preview, you can turn off all of the process plates. and only see the spot plates. So here, if we turn back the process plates on, turn the process plates back on, we see all of our artwork. You can turn the spot plates off. Now it's just the artwork. Now it's just the art. Oh wait, why is that? Did we not? Oh, you know why? Because I didn't delete the spot channel. That's why it's there. So let's delete that spot channel. Even though it's not, see, this is a good thing to know. Even though it's not showing, it's still there. So we got to delete that. And we're going to hit save. Hit save. Close this. Re-export it. Awesome tokens 2. Save. Replace. Export. Oh, wait. I didn't add the slug. So, awesome tokens 2. Save. When we're doing our export, there's this marks and bleeds thing here. We want to include slug area. So that's going to add that 30 millimeters of export space on top. And you'll see the difference in a second. Oh, they're missing them off. Oh, see, I got to update these first. Everything was going so smoothly. I'm sorry. Replace. And we have our include slug areas. Yes, we do. Export. Let's open it up. And file recent. Awesome tokens 2. All right, so now we have our slug area up here. See, there's our cut line right here, and it's above. And then here's our die line, and there's no, so if we turn off our process plates, the die line should be the only spot plate here. And then the UV should be the only spot color here. All right. That concludes the punchboard portion of the evening. I do have one more thing I want to talk about. I am going to be back in 1 second. I need to take a quick nature break. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the book feature. Having just come off a huge project, we just actually received our studio copy of our advanced copy of the Daggerheart book, and there's a really great feature in InDesign for creating long documents, and you can use it for a bunch of other tasks as well that are time savers, and it's the book feature. So if you have a long document, like a book, and you want to, say it's a 300-page book, and you want to, to work on something that large, and to have, if you're working on something that large, for one thing, you might not be the only one working on that. So if I'm working on like for Daggerheart, we were 4 or 5 people possibly working on the InDesign documents. And there were 6 chapters plus an appendix. So can I show which book? The Daggerheart book? Not quite yet. So what you do is you break it up into chapter InDesign files. And then you take all of those files and you compile them into a book file. So what that looks like is, did I create that for something else? I can't remember. Anyway, so we're going to go up here and we're going to say, so if we go 8.5 by 11, let's go print document, print, letter sized, and then we're going to go here, and we're going to go, this is going to be 2 columns, make it 3, and we're going to fill it with placeholder text, and then we're going to save this as chapter 1, and then we're going to call this, we're going to make this text blue, and we're going to save this as chapter 2, and we're going to make this text red, and we're going to save this as chapter 3. So we now have 3 chapters. I can work on chapter 1. Mara on my team can work on chapter 2. The client can work on chapter 3, and we're still not stepping on each other's toes. You still have to worry about file check-in and check-out, make sure you're not trying to work on the same file at the same time. But as long as you have that in place, multiple people are able to work on the book in its entirety at the same time. So we're going to create a new INDB file. So it's a book file here. And we're going to call this awesome book because it goes with that awesome game that has the awesome tokens in it. Great. So it doesn't create a document like you would usually see. It just creates this little window here. So we're going to add this. We're going to add all the files to this. You can reorder these. So for instance, to open up chapter 2, right now they're just 1 page each. So this is page 1, page 2, page 3. So what if I had, what if page or chapter 2 was 6 pages long? We go back here. Hey, look at that. Chapter 1 is 1 page. Chapter 2 is from pages 2 to 7. But chapter 3 is page 8. Amazing. So, Chad, how do you manage file check-in and check-out? The way we did it with the Daggerheart team was everybody was on Macs, which was really helpful. So what you can do on a Mac is you can color dot files. So I was red, so I color dotted file in red whenever I was working on something, and that would be checking it out. And we are in communication in Slack, so Spencer on the Daggerheart team might say, hey, Matt, let me know when you're done with chapter 3. I need to get in there and do stuff. I said, sure. And I'll undot it, and I'll let Spencer know, hey, Spencer, I'm out. And then he'll go in and he'll orange dot it because he was orange. So that's kind of how we handled it. We're looking at different things for the next book. There's this thing called Lucid Link. I'm really skeptical of it, but we'll see. Lucid Link has the files in one central place, and when you're working on them, you're just working on like it's almost like streaming the file to you, but you're never actually working on a local copy. I'm not sure how it works, but we're gonna test it out. So anyway, so now that we have chapter 1, 2, and 3, and chapters 2 has been much more content's been added to it. It adjusts the page numbers automatically. There's this thing over here that has the style source, so you can share style sheets between documents as well, and that is one of the things in InDesign that has pros and cons. The pros is you can sync styles throughout the book. The cons are you can sync styles throughout the book And I say that because you can overwrite stuff that you didn't mean to overwrite, and it can screw everything up too if you don't really pay attention to what you're doing. This was so amazing. So we had for Daggerheart, I'll open up the IMDb file for Daggerheart at least, so you can see what that looked like. Daggerheart working books, no, core rulebook books. Core rulebook. So here's the book. We had chapter 1, chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the appendix. This is a 366 plus a couple of pages. Without doing it in the book format, I don't know what we would have done. You're going to see these little caution signs here. That's because it was edited outside of the book structure. Really not a big deal, but it was super helpful. So whenever, and you can, I mean, the cool thing about this is you can rearrange the files within this structure here. If you really wanted chapter 2 to be after chapter 3 and rename them, it'll automatically renumber the pages. You can do other stuff with book files. I'll show you what I did. Delete, where is it? Close book. I did some stuff, some really cool things with the adversaries. So yeah, that's fine. So there's 162 adversaries in this. And what these look like is basically a whole bunch of pages like this. This was super fun to work on because originally all of these adversaries, so this is just one text frame, and it's all styled. All of this stuff here is paragraph styles using background shading and lines and paragraph borders. You know, it's just all one thing, so that if we basically just took this and went to body, it looks like this now. The whole thing is just all formatted, but it was super fun to do. And then what I needed to do with this, the reason why they're all in one thing is, now why did I do this again? Right. So I had them all as one document, and then I needed to, because some of them, if you look at that one, and if you look at one of the larger ones, Hallowed Soldier, nope. Whatever. Anyways, they're all different lengths is my point. So this one's, they're all different heights. So they were all part of one document, and the original document basically had pages long enough to handle the longest one of them. So what I needed to do was I needed to split these. I needed to shorten the page to be as long as they needed to be, basically as long as the text frame plus a little bit. And that was the first thing I needed to do. So I found an InDesign script. I'm going to post a website. There's this French dude in France that makes these InDesign scripts that they're killer. They're so helpful. So I found one of his scripts, and he had split my document, my 160 whatever page document, into 160 different files. And I'm like, great. But they were all named adversaries -1, -2, all the way up to -160 whatever. I'm like, this isn't very helpful. ChatGPT, my good friend ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT to help me write a script. And what this script ended up doing was it took all of the files that I've separated now in a folder, it renamed them. So this one's called T1-acidburrower.indd. So I separated the file. I went ahead and separated the files into 4 folders for each tier. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, can you take all of the tier 1, the ones in the tier 1 folder, rename the file T1 dash whatever this first line is, .ind. And after a couple of rounds of editing, it did it. It was amazing. So now I have all of them. Now I have all of them separated and all of them named correctly and everything like that. It was amazing. Oh no, Spencer or one of the Daggerheart folks wants to now change. They wanted to change all of the keywords, like all of these guys here. They were just italicized before. They weren't italicized and bolded. We need to bold all of them. Well, I'm not going to highlight all of them and change that. So I'm not going to open 165 files and change one at a time. So that's where this came in. I put them all into a book file. I could sync the styles, change it on one of them, sync the styles, and then save them all, and it was done. They're still separate files, but they were all able to be synced. Anyways, that was a bit of a diatribe. I'm sorry. So that's the book feature in a nutshell. We just passed over the 2-hour mark. You guys have been fantastic. Thanks so much for hanging in with me. I hope to do more of these. Please let me know in the comments if you got some benefit out of this and if you want to see more of these and maybe what subjects you'd like to see us do. I would love to do these like once a month or once every 6 weeks or something like that. If there's enough content matter and if there's enough demand for it, I'd love nothing more than do that. While you guys are here, I will say one last plea. Go to becreative.events and pick up your Be Creative shirt today. The kids will thank you for it, and I will thank you for it so much. And speaking of thank you so much for hanging with me tonight, and I hope you guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow.